Hey Pepper Gang, The Front is a new open world survival game that just dropped in early access, and let me tell you, it's ambitious, unique, and it's blending mechanics from popular PvPvE survival games like Rust, Ark, 7 Days to Die, and Conan Exiles. You spawn in on a massive island with a variety of biomes and elevations, explore while hostile zombies, X-Wing NPCs, soldiers, hungry beasts try to kill you. You can tame NPCs to do as you wish. You can spawn in your own personal Horde night like 7 Days to Die, drive tanks, shoot guns, farm, cook, build, craft, raid enemies, tailor your skill tree to your liking while gathering rare blueprints. Did I mention there's UFOs in the sky? Ambitious, right? I was skeptical of this game at first, but after 3 days of binging it, over 20 hours on my live stream, I'm kinda hooked. I'm going to break down what the game offers for you guys on early access launch. Will be broken up in chapters down below for easy viewing. Now on launch, they offer vanilla PvP servers with 40 player caps, 6-man teams, or for those not wanting the PvP, there's also PvE servers. When it comes to wipes, the current servers launch have a 45-day wipe window. Not sure if this will change down the road, and you can also host your own solo or co-op server with your homies. The game does have mod support on the roadmap down the road, and custom dedicated server options like Rust, so I'm sure we will see a variety of servers down the road. The setting feels like a Mad Max type of world with zombies populating different points of interest, hostile creatures like wolves, eagles, bears, and foxes run amok, and there's high-tier military bases that have soldiers with weapons like grenade launchers. There's also UFOs that point out supply drops that are level-based around the map, very similar to Ark and its supply drops. Now, I'm not sure how the lore ties all these features together. It's a little wonky, but I kind of dig it. They're going for something different and trying to stand down their own. I would love to learn more about the lore, but let's move on. The front's progression is very similar to Ark Survival Evolved. There is a tech tree divided into categories, and in order to unlock craftable blueprints, you have to level up. As you level up higher, these tech tree blueprints require ether shards as well, a currency you find only from killing NPCs or looting or completing little tasks. The price of each unlockable goes up as you level. A lot of early game stuff takes some grinding to do, so you won't be able to spawn in with a fresh character and build right away. You actually gotta go loot and grind for a bit first, very similar to Ark. In my first 20 hours, I only unlocked about half the entire tech tree, so it's insanely deep in content. I also like that the ether shards are required because this forces players to constantly leave base, leave points of interest, and fight NPCs, which will create opportunities for PvP as well. In addition to a crafting tech tree, you have personal skills you can develop through talents. Like the craft tree, you need a level prerequisite to unlock some of these, plus this item called a talent book. Like the craft tree, as you level up, you need more talent books to unlock these skills. The talent tree skills are buffs to all facets of your character, so you can tailor your character to your liking, giving you lots of replayability down the road here. The talent books, like ether shards, force you to leave your base, loot, and PvE in order to collect them. I think it's smart that you have to loot and explore to progress in tech and character skills. It will help keep servers alive, keep people moving out of their bases. In other survival games, once people have everything they need, they tend to stay in their base, and the servers feels like it's not really alive anymore. Now that I've explained ether shards, talent books, and progression, let's discuss a very unique feature to the game, the raid defense minigame. The front has a unique 7 Days to Die like mechanic where you can spawn your own horde fight at your base. The way it works is you create a beacon at base. This claims land, all their repairs your structures, materials, and allows you to do the raid defense. The other item you place is a creature lure. You also place this in range of your base. When you are ready and the beacon allows you to use this mechanic, you can activate a horde wave. Once you defeat it in a set amount of time, the beacon will grant you loot rewards, including rare blueprints. However, the difficulty of the horde, as well as the size of it, will scale up after each successful attempt, making it more dangerous to attempt. If you fail, they might destroy your base, and on a PvP server, enemies can see your beacon lit up in the sky during this mechanic, giving them a chance to third-party you. I actually attempted to third-party someone else's raid mechanic on day 1. At first, this mechanic seems complicated, but it is awesome with a fresh character because you gain useful items you might not find right away. You gain talent books and ether shards for leveling up skills in the tech tree, and it keeps you occupied when you don't want to explore. It also will give people a lot of replayability because they can design all sorts of bases with traps in mind for this minigame. Another unique mechanic this game has is followers, also known as taming NPCs. I have yet to attempt it myself, where you're able to subdue NPCs put a jammer on them, feed them their favorite food, then eventually have them follow you back to your base to farm and fight for you. This can be extremely useful as a solo or a small team. On to looting and crafting. Like other games, you have a variety of resources you have to farm. Some of these nodes, though, force you to travel far and away in order to farm them, and with how big the map is, it might take some time to farm what you need. You can't just walk out of your home and have everything at your disposal, which I like. I also noticed the big difference in using improved tools when I'm farming, so you definitely want to level up as soon as possible in order to make your farming more efficient. Now, for non-farmable loot, there's a variety of monuments you can loot on the map that are tiered. The bigger spots usually have tougher NPCs and higher tiered loot. I was actually able to cheese a military base with a simple pistol, which allowed me to loot high level weapons, but the front has a level cap on gear. So even though I looted high tier guns, I still had to level up to use them, so all I could do is stash them away for later. This took me some time to get used to, but I see why it's in the game. The smaller points of interest had useful stuff like ore, tools, and the occasional ether shard for locking crafts. Now, crafting itself is very deep in this game. I like that every single item has a use. You're going to be reusing waste to create new resources and use those resources to create better ones. The crafting system feels very Ark-like in this regard, and you will notice you need to build so many workbenches in this game to be able to craft. I think it's a bit of overkill on the benches. I wish they would combine some of these. You need a lot of room for all the necessary ones. Now, besides unlocking blueprints through a tech tree, you will find colored tiered BPs throughout your looting and killing, especially after completing a raid defense minigame. These colored BPs range from common ones to red exotic ones, and the more rare the blueprint, the more expensive the craft, the more useful that item is, but there's also the less number of uses the BP has. These nicer BPs give you advantages in gear, weapon, and even structures for building, and the blueprints are a great way to expedite progression early on, and they can be the difference in PvP. This is something you want to keep farming. Now let's move on to building. The building is modular like Rust, which gives you a lot of creative freedom. The raid defense mechanic also forces you to think about how to lay traps in your base, how to plan the pathing of the creatures that spawn at the creature lure, very similar to 7 Days to Die building. There was a bit of a learning curve in building, such as learning how to do variations of a wall, but once you learn the basics, it's pretty easy to build bases. You will notice though, even as a solo, you need a lot of space to build a proper base. There's many tiers to building, which will force players to keep exploring the map to find the high tier materials for their base. I'm all for any mechanic that forces players to keep moving out of their base and explore the map. It's how you keep servers alive and how you create opportunities for PvP, and down the road when VoIP gets added, fun-friendly interactions. Now the front also has electricity, which was very Rust-like and easy to place down. I like that the generator wasn't insanely loud like other games, and there's also farming, which was super easy to do and a great way to supply your base with food. In regards to cooking, eating, and drinking, you are encouraged to keep learning cooking recipes because the nicer recipes give you better buffs and will fill your hunger and hydration bars very quickly. Overall, if you like base building and this part of survival games, there's a lot of content for you to dig into. Now let's discuss PvE. I mentioned that there are different tiered points of interest where different tiered NPCs spawn. The bigger ones usually mean the tougher the NPCs. The NPCs and animals are also level based, and different biomes have higher level creatures. I noticed the snow and desert biomes having the most dangerous creatures. In my opinion, the NPC's pathing needs a lot of work, as well as how they behave towards you. I was able to cheese very high level animals and enemies by kiting them to certain buildings and stabbing them through walls and windows. There were also issues with footstep audio and gun audio from the soldier NPCs. I would say that PvE is not the front strong suit right now, but there's a lot of room for improvement here. I do like the variety in enemies and what weapons they carry, plus the points of interest they protect do feel alive when I see them, making the world more immersive. Since it's early access, I hope to see this side of things improve sooner rather than later. Now let's move on to PvP and gunplay. PvP, guys, is not like Rust where you're going to find it 24/7. You're not going to walk out of your base and get into a gunfight right away unless you live next to someone. Since the map is so big and the player cap right now is 40 on official servers, I feel like you're only finding PvP right now near spawn zones, or if you have a vehicle, you can seek it much easier and find people that way, which I think will be more common as people learn the game. Primitive PvP felt fun. I got in a few fights with basic weapons and armor. However, on the contrary, finding someone that has high tier armor was frustrating. I got online raided in my second base, and I got to defend for a bit, but it felt like I wasn't even scratching the health of my enemy because they had full metal armor And that could have been the colored blueprint armor, so it could have had better stats than the default metal armor. I had no way of knowing. I feel like balancing will be a roadblock the devs will face when it comes to PvP, but I hope it's one they overcome. The PvP did feel punishing, very similar to other PvP games. You're going to want to value your life. Headshots do matter in the front, which I like. You're rewarded for good aim. And I also like that there's a big variety of weapons, and the gun themselves are satisfying to shoot. They sound very fun. There's an abundance of weapon attachments too, which adds to the fun. I was able to find several guns and attachments early on to help with the low-level struggle, and I think weapons are a must for certain PvE spots. Overall though, I would say PvP, like PvE, still needs time to flesh out throughout early access, and it's not a strong suit of the game right now. Last but not least, let's discuss raiding and the endgame. I think this will be the make or break it factor in the front's long-term success. Endgame is supposed to be vehicles raiding big bases full of traps, and vehicles fighting back. It sounds a lot like Battlefield, but in a survival game setting with custom bases that are quite large, sounds like there could be some optimization issues. Their trailer showing this off even showed frame loss when all the chaos was happening. I have yet to hit this part of the game at the time of this video being recorded since the game is so new, but I'm working on it so I can see what it's like. There are balanced issues with raiding already right now, such as Molotov cocktails, which are very easy to craft. They can burn down stone bases in minutes. You can also find tanks on the map, which makes raiding very easy early on. If big teams are able to beeline their way to endgame raid equipment very quickly and they go on a tear, that's how servers die quickly in these games and forces people away from PvP. Like the PvP, I think we need to give raiding and endgame some time to flesh out, let players experience it in the current state, and go from there. Battlefield-like raiding is what differentiates the front from other PvP survival games, so for the game's sake and success, I hope it functions well. In regards to the devs, they have been active patching the game every night since launch, addressing major bugs and adding quality of life features. They didn't have customizable keybinds in the game day one, which was shocking and probably a reason why I got mixed reviews on Steam. But it seems they're taking these concerns and addressing them as soon as they can. I'm glad they're communicating to the community via in-game message system and on Discord, and they seem to be listening to feedback. These are all good signs for now. When it comes to monetizing, there are skins in the game, and I can see them promoting the game via Twitch drops and possibly adding a future skin store like Rust. Overall, I have seen worse launches for survival games like this, looking at you, Scum. But like Scum has shown, these games need time to cook, and they do improve if they have the time. The launch hasn't been too bad. Lots of creators have received sponsored streams and videos for it, and it seems to be holding about a good 10k concurrent players daily right now. We will see how the community looks like after the hype dies down, but for now, I think getting a game with this much content for 15 to 20 bucks is a great deal, and as a survival game fan, I'm just happy to see more in this genre. I find the game has potential, has a learning curve for sure, but they seem to be off to a decent start. But that's it for this one, guys. Thank you for making it this far. Look out for more of the front videos on the channel. I see myself enjoying this game and exploring it for a while. Thank you for watching this far though, guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and check out this video here at the end.